A brand new Silver Age graded comic book just hit the census, and it may be worth $1 million. Let's get into it. The 10 hottest comic books in the world right now. Hit the like and subscribe. We've been doing this video for nearly 4 years, and Jem will hit you with number 10.
Coming in at number 10, we have Tomb of Dracula, issue number 1, the first appearance of Dracula despite the current Writers Guild strike.
Gene Colan, Jerry Conway. First Dracula at Marvel since the destruction of the Comics Code Authority. Started with Spec back when Blade hype was at an all-time high and Anthony Starr was tied to portray Dracula. You know him as playing Homelander from The Boys. Well, Mia Goth has been slated to appear in this movie. Likely going to be a vampire. Likely going to be a descendant of Dracula. If we're going to see Lilith, we may see her father.
Now that makes sense to me. We haven't spoke about this book since October 17th, and since then, there's been 449 more slabs added to the CGC census, bringing that total up to 3,005. Now check this, we have strong performers and a record breaker. A CGC 2.5 sold for $249 back in October, right around the time when we talked about it, and now it's up 16%, selling for $290.
The 4.5 hit 275. That's an increase of 4%. The 6.5 hit 421 for an increase of 12%. And the 7.5 is trending 10% over its recent 12-month average, selling for $532. Had under 15 9.8s on the census as little as 3 years ago. Yes, the heights were reached back in 2021 when Heritage Auction sold a 9.8 white pager for $16,800. The most recent 9.8 sale took place this past March, selling for $6,000. Is the book dropping, or is it just because of the high CGC count?
I remember when you had that Tomb one in a 9.8. Didn't you trade that?
I did indeed. Purchased it from the Golden Age Guru, a gorgeous 9.8 white pager, and traded it for this Jim 83 3.0 white pager. But more on that in a little bit, because at the list at number 9, we have Nova number 1, the first appearance of Richard Rider.
And while we didn't get anything Richard Rider in Guardians 3, we still have Guardians teams that'll continue on in the future, plus some other cosmic characters that haven't been touched yet. Shout out to Eros. We haven't talked about this book since it was on the trending list back on December 29th, and there have been 300 more slabs added to the census since then, bringing that total to almost 7,900.
We haven't seen or heard anything about Nova since Thanos destroyed Xandar and the Nova Corps back during Infinity War. Well, we've been hearing rumors that Kevin Feige had plans to utilize this character since like the early phases. And then March 2022, Deadline reported that this was indeed in the works. It does make sense, especially with the ending of Guardians of the Galaxy 3. We'll get to that in a second. There's been an increase of 150% in copies sold week over week of this book post the movie. And spoilers, but Nova was nowhere to be found.
Well, at least they didn't do him like they did Adam Warlock. We have a 7.0 selling for $120. That's 7% above its 12-month average. The 8.0 is up 23%, selling for $157. The 8.5 can't keep up, selling for $150, still up 6% over its 12-month average. And then the 9.4 selling for $279, 5% up.
We know he's coming. Members are hunting for this book, but there's also a lot of members who spec'd on Guardians 3. And although there is a future for this character, I believe it's going to happen. Whether it's Richard or Sam, we're going to see Novas in the MCU eventually. The heights this book reached was $3,000 back in 2022, and the recent 9.8 sale is $1,650, and that was clocked in April, just prior to the movie. Do you think this book is going to go up? Are you thinking about buying it now? Because there's a lot of copies hitting the internet, which is why this book is hot as hell.
I'm still holding out for an Annihilation adaptation sometime in the MCU's future. Moving on to number 8 for a second time, we have Akira, issue number 1.
Regardless of the poor response that was Thor: Love and Thunder, the announcement that Taika Waititi is working the screenplay for this title has this book hot as hell. But past writer strikes have lasted between 3 to 5 months. The delays that this movie could have could actually create a perfect storm to buy this comic, but not right now. Look out for dips.
What do you think about Taika Waititi? Is Akira in good hands? Well, since the last time we talked about this just 3 weeks ago, there have been 8 more slabs added to the census, bringing that total to 1,357. 2 more of those were 9.8s. There are now 333 copies on the census, and the record high sale for that was $1,250 back in October of 2021. However, the last GPA recorded sale was just $5.55 in May of this year.
That's a pretty low census count, man. This is a tough book in high grade. The 9.2 selling for $97, up 8%. The 9.4 is hitting $140, that's up 24%. The 9.6 is selling for $221, up 32%. And the 9.8 hit $555, that's up 12%. Seeing that this book is down over half has me watching it very closely, because if there are any dips, I think that's the lowest it's gonna go.
Well, like you said, this movie is not even in development yet. It's actually been in development hell for many years. So the writer's strike is going to do nothing but give you more time to pick this one up. Moving along to number 7, do we have another $1 million comic book on our hands here?
Use code TOM101 to support the show, but enhance your comic collecting. I use Key Collector Comics. It's available for both Androids and iPhones every single day. Whether I'm in the bathroom, whether I'm cooking, or right when I wake up. Sometimes I wake up and I look at key alerts and I'm like, oh, hot damn. Yes, the Hellboy movie has officially wrapped filming because it's the best superhero of all time. They keep remaking it despite anybody's opinions.
That's funny you bring that up. I happened to catch you posting that on Facebook. I didn't even know they were making a new Hellboy movie.
Mignola says that this is going to be the most comic accurate depiction of Hellboy. But like I mentioned, like Jem mentioned, we got a brand new $1 million comic book to talk about. We have the first appearance of Foggy Nelson and Karen Page and Matt Murdock, Daredevil #1.
This book made number 2 on the Hot 10 just 6 weeks ago, and since then they've added 40 slabs to the census, which includes a new 9.8.
For all of comic history, there's only been 2 copies graded at a 9.8 of the Silver Age classic blue chip key. And we reported a 9.6 sale back during the comic boom, April 2021, hitting $150,000. It's trending closer to the 100K marker, but I digress. And over the last couple months, there's been one new 9.8 added to the census. And I happened to get to hold it courtesy of the man behind the red hood during Vegas Comic-Con.
And there has never been a publicly recorded sale of a 9.8. So when somebody's holding one of these, when somebody who sells comic books has one, how do they figure out how much it's worth?
I don't want to speak for you, Jem, but hitting the mic week over week for years with you, I definitely hypothesize a lot. You know, I contemplate what dealers are doing with these very scarce collectibles. And I happen to know this gentleman. So we got a quote from him. I really don't want to sell it. That's what he said. That's the first thing he said. I think next year is going to be a big year for Daredevil, but also there's no FF1 9.8. There's no Hulk 1 9.8. There's no AF15 9.8. There's no Journey 83 9.8. There's one TOS 39 First Iron Man 9.8, a couple of X-Men 1s, a couple of ASM 1s, etc. He's the last of the original Marvel Silver Age characters to skyrocket. If FF1 9.2 sold for $1.5 million, wouldn't a Daredevil 1 9.8 command at least $1 million?
A rare opportunity to have a Marvel blue chip key in 9.8, but that's not why this book made the list. It's all because of Daredevil Born Again, which we know is currently filming and has had some delays due to the writer's strike.
I will mention, if this book does come to market, and I suspect Rob may consider doing that next year, that's going to raise the floor of all grades below. Well, we have a 0.5 record-breaking sale that took place this past week, last selling for $850 in 2021, an increase of 6% with a new floor being hit of $900 with this record-breaking sale.
The CGC 3.5 sold for $3,450, 2% above its 12-month average, and the 4.0 selling for $3,930, right about at that average, 1% higher.
It doesn't look like Daredevil Born Again is getting throttled much. They had to shut down production all last week, but that was because of protesters. It seems like the writing has already been done. The only real news we've seen is Vincent D'Onofrio being seen in pictures as Kingpin wearing an American flag pin. Could they be doing the Mayor Fisk storyline? I think so.
And speaking of storylines, number 6 on the list, we've got Batman 232, the first appearance of Ra's al Ghul, and the second appearance of Talia.
So much focus on Superman Legacy, and we know that we're going to be getting a family Damian Wayne narrative coming soon in Brave and the Bold.
James Gunn let us know the movie's going to be centered around Damian Wayne, his favorite and my favorite Robin as well. You can't have Damian without his mother Talia or her father Ra's.
6.0 record-breaking sale just landed for this Neil Adams classic book that's tough and high grade. $600 is what this sold for back in 2021. It's up 3%, selling for $617. A 9.4 also had a record-breaking sale, last selling in July for $2,280, up 23%, now selling for $2,795.
And then we have a 5.0, which sold for $439, 17% above its 12-month average, and the 7.0 selling for $625, 3% higher.
I think people are sleeping on Damian Wayne Keyes right now. It's out a ways away, but I think if people are underestimating this character, they're probably underestimating, dare I say, the Green Lanterns, also slated, Paradise Lost, as well as Booster Gold.
Which brings us to number 5 on the list. We've got New Mutants 98, the first appearance of Deadpool. We haven't heard anything new about Deadpool 3, except for the fact that Ryan Reynolds isn't going to be able to ad-lib during filming, but we do have a CGC signing with Rob Liefeld coming up.
You got until July 23rd to send those books in to get a signature or remark. Also, Deadpool 3 isn't going to be in theaters until 2024 September, so there's a little bit of time before seriously needing to spec on Deadpool. This book has had its ebbs and flows, but has been perpetually relevant.
With a ton of new sales, starting with the newsstands, we have a CGC 7.0 selling for $297, 7% above average. The 7.5 selling for $315, that's 3% up. The 8.5 selling for $400 for an increase of 11%, and the 9.6 selling for $1076, 35% higher than that average.
That's going for nearly double what the standard direct market copy is going for, but I'll get to that in a second because the 6.0 is up 6%, selling for $280, just like the 7.5, selling for the same amount and going to be getting some price correction, up 4%. We also have a 9.0 selling for $400, up 8%. 9.4 selling for $480, 6% increase. The 9.6, which I'll remind you, Jem just said, broke $1,000 for a newsstand, just sold for $600 for an increase of 2%. And last but not least, the 9.8, which has seen heights of $3,000 during the comic boom, is selling for $1,625 for an increase of 4%. I did see a fun interview with James Gunn this past week where he ranked his top 5 superhero movies of all time, and to no surprise, half the list were non-Marvel DC movies that I have never heard of, obscure foreign films, but 2 of the 5 on the list were both Deadpool movies.
Just weeks away from the Flash movie, coming in at number 4, we have The Flash, issue 139, the first appearance of Professor Zoom, the Reverse Flash.
Professor Zoom, E.O. Barthon, debuting in 1963. This book is so beloved. I want this book, and I'm not even a huge Flash fan. It's just classic as hell. And there's only 35 copies that exist, not just in a 9.8, 9.6, 9.4, 9.2. No, between 9.0 to 9.8. Super, hyper, scarce. People want this book no matter what. It doesn't matter if there's a movie coming out next month. Book's moving up a little bit because of it, but it deserves to be on the list regardless.
It sounds like we're just going to get a doppelganger version of Barry Allen in the movie, but still a great key to own and a record-breaking sale in 8.5. It last sold for $2,640 in 2022, and that's up 9% with its all-new record-breaking sale of $2,880.
Let's be real, everyone's going for Batman, not for Flash, and they're touting it as one of the best superhero movies of recent years. But a 8.5 selling of this book, I don't think that buyer cares about that.
The 3.5 sold for $360, an increase of 3% over its last 12 months. 5.0 selling for $649, that's 8% up, and the 6.0 is up 16%, selling for $900. Now, we have seen the final trailer for The Flash. I refuse to watch it. These trailers are giving out too much of the movie.
I'm also avoiding trailers. What about you, comic fam? In the comment section below, are you going to see this movie despite Ezra Miller being in it? Also, I want to show you this magnificent, maleficent cover going in 1 per box in the June mystery mail call. Johnny Desjardins absolutely killed it. We've been doing a bunch of Disney comic books because Dynamite picked up the IP and Maleficent is in stores now at your LCS. There are so many dope exclusives as well as incentive variants that you got to check out.
Man, shout out to Dynamite over there. They've been killing it with all their new licenses, from Darkwing Duck to Gargoyles to Lion King Scar.
And now we're back at the list post Guardians of the Galaxy 3 with the first appearance of Star-Lord in a magazine, because this is the key book to get. It says his name right on the cover, Marvel Preview, issue number 4.
We have a new Guardians team, but we know that Star-Lord will return. Could that be that Nova-Richard Rider team up? Could we get Annihilation? Well, collectors hope so. We have a record-breaking sale in a 1.8. The last time one sold was back in 2014, and it sold for $100. We're up 30% with a new record-breaking sale of $130.
The 6.0 is up 16%, selling for $235. The 7.5 is selling for $300 for an increase of 3%. And the 9.4 just sold for $1,009. That book's been selling under $800 all year long, clocking in an increase of 39% week over week. Thanks, James Gunn.
It's going to be interesting to see what they do with Peter Quill. We know he's on Earth. He's hanging out with his grandpa. Is he going to become an Earth cop, or are they just going to sideline him until Kang's Dynasty and Secret Wars?
Number 2 on the list, Star Wars Heir to the Empire. We have issue number 1, the first appearance of Grand Admiral Thrawn, who I'm seeing being touted as the next big bad by producers of the Star Wars franchise. It looks like we have our next Darth Vader.
This book landed at number 7 on the Hot 10 just last week, and there have been 11 more slabs added to the census since then, bringing that total up to 2659. 3 of those were 9.8s as well. We now have 366 of them on the census, and the heights that it reached was back in June of 2021, where it sold for 2,300. The last GPA sale, which was in May of this year, went for 1,050.
This book could have been secured for under $1,000 for like the last 6 months. We have the 7.0 selling for $164, up 64%. The 9.0 selling for $176, up 26%. Check this one out. The 9.2 is up 51%, selling for $240. The 9.4, $250 for an increase of 16%. And the 9.6 just hit $400 for an increase of 12%. Members are putting money down now to secure the first appearance of Grand Admiral Thrawn for the future of the Star Wars franchise.
It's kind of odd to see just one Star Wars book on the list. It seems like for the last few weeks, it's been multiple books. Ahsoka Tano is coming out in August, so I would think we're going to see this book on the list a few more times until that debuts. But now moving on to number 1 on the list, we've had Star-Lord. You know we had to have Rocket Raccoon in his first comic book appearance in The Incredible Hulk, issue 271.
Now, similar to Star-Lord, Rocky Raccoon, named after the Beatles song, premiered first in Marvel Premiere issue number 7, just magazines later, post the first appearance of Star-Lord. Well, his appearance here in Incredible Hulk marks his second appearance, but really the community looks at this as the real first appearance, even though it's not. Whether it be the name or just the introduction on the cover, this is the book to get. And it's tough and high grade. That white cover is notorious for scuffs.
I think a lot of us thought James Gunn was going to kill Rocket off during this movie. I mean, the whole movie was about Rocket, but ending with him leading this new Guardians team that we very well may see in the future, which bodes well for this book. The newsstand in an 8.0 sold for $180, 6% above its average, and a 9.4 sold for $359, which is 21% up.
We also have 2 record-breaking sales of newsstands as well. The first being set, actually, for the 6.5, selling for $139. And then we have an 8.5 record-breaking sale, last selling in December for $211, up 4%, now selling for $220.
And then we have the direct market editions in a 6.0, selling for $160, 34% above average. The 9.4 selling for $325, which is 14% up. And the 9.6 selling for $425, 13% above its average.
Losing James Gunn was indeed a blow to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but imagine what he's going to be doing over at DC. Well, what were their options at Marvel? Just stop making Guardians of the Galaxy movies and stop utilizing these characters, even though many of them are probably going to be going with James Gunn? Well, the best bet is to take their new characters like Adam Warlock, Phyla-Vell, make Groot freaking awesome and huge, and lead it by the fan favorite Rocket Raccoon. I appreciate your time today, comic fam. As always.
Geek responsibly and stay minty fresh.
Enough said. Join me every single week on Whatnot, the best new place to buy and sell collectibles. Yesterday, I gave away this ASM 300 newsstand. It was a gorgeous copy and someone got it for free. Don't miss out on these types of drops. I've given away multiple ASM 300s, Werewolf by Night 32, House of Secrets 92, and I have something planned for the end of June. I want you there, so click the link in the description, support the show, and join us on Whatnot. We have other videos for you to check out. Enjoy those, and have a great weekend. I gotta go to a wedding. Family stuff. Should be some good food. Peace.